Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm here with Richard Askow, RJ Askow from the Zero Hour. How are you, Richard?
I'm doing fantastic.
Also here with Miserable Liberal. Hi, Steph.
I'm miserable.
I wanted to show people this. Sean King tweeted this out. He said, I really do wish many of you would consider giving Bernie a second chance, or at least attend a Bernie event in person to wrap your mind better around what's going on and why so many people support him. Just writing him off completely says more about you than him. I don't know who he's talking to. 80-some% of the Democratic, actually 92%, according to polls, 92% of the Democratic Party has a favorable view of Bernie Sanders, right? And then there's that 8% that doesn't, or as Johnny Graz calls them, the hate percent.
Right.
There's literally just 8% of the Democratic Party that has a negative view of Bernie Sanders. So I don't know who that must be who he's talking to, those people.
Well, yeah, no, look, I take that as being a reflection of Twitter as this distorted, and social media in general, as this distorted environment that Sean, like so many of us, is getting all sorts of hate about Bernie, because that 8% probably does 60% of the Democratic liberal tweeting on social media, partially. And now here's another thing.
That's to correct the record.
Exactly where, I wrote a piece after the primary was over, and there was fighting over like the convention and how it was going to go and all of that. And they were saying, oh, Bernie doesn't have any leverage. He lost. That was the party line, right?
Yeah.
I wrote a piece for the Huffington Post called, Yes, Bernie Has Leverage, Deal with It. Mm-hmm. And that piece got hundreds and hundreds of comments. The way Huffington Post worked, you had to be on Facebook to comment. You had to have a Facebook account. So it got hundreds and hundreds of comments. And I started saying, and they were all the same. And I started thinking, like, who's behind this? Because we'd already known David Brock, they're going to spend $1 million, correct the record, sort of infiltrating social media with, they're all outraged when Russia does it, but they do it themselves, right? And so I started like following, and it would be like a Facebook page with like no picture and no timeline. Uh-huh. And, it was clearly just
a troll factory.
Yeah. And then you get other people who are obviously paying, Share Blue or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
These other places that are obviously, they are troll factories. It's just that they're not, at least directly, being paid by Russia. They may be being paid by the bank that paid Bill Clinton or whatever, but certainly I don't know about it. But okay, so to you it's okay, you don't mind trolls and bots and people distorting the social discussion as long as your money's coming from Wall Street. And you know what I mean? If you believe in democracy, you should hate this just as much as you hate any other troll farm.
I couldn't agree with you more. So he's trying to implore, I guess, that 8% of people who say they don't like Bernie Sanders, which is just crazy. That's just a crazy thing anyway. And especially since those people who don't like him are the people who demanded Bernie Sanders supporters vote for Hillary Clinton. I'm sure they would demand the same of themselves to support whoever the Democratic nominee is.
I'm sure that if Bernie were the nominee, that they would just say, look,
you got to vote for the nominee.
Yeah, to you, he's the lesser of two evils, right? But you got to vote for him. Yeah, that'll be the day.
Here's what this got him. So this is what that got Sean King to write that. He said, at this point, this is underneath that. At this point, if you don't vote for a Democrat in 2020, you are aiding and abetting the GOP Russian alt-right coup. The political reality and math is just that stark. So, hey, Californians, this is amazing to me. So now they've upped the ante. Now, not only are you not only a bad person for not supporting Hillary Clinton or a corporatist warmonger against Trump, you are now literally aiding and abetting. You're now a traitor to our country.
First of all, I like the fact that he does "you" with just the letter "U." It's very like 1990s Prince, very retro look for him, despite the fact that you now have 280 characters. But that aside, look, they've been playing this game as long as I've been around, which is a ridiculously long time. This is always oh, no, you're helping Nixon. Oh, no, you're helping Reagan. Oh, no, you're helping. Now I'm going to sound like you, Dore. Now you're just helping. This is the old game. No, if you don't put up a Democrat that people want to vote for, maybe you are aiding and abetting the alt-right coup.
So if
Sean Masterson with only 17 retweets and 153 likes. Usually stuff like that gets thousands,
nuts, right?
Yeah.
It's just to make the math is just that stark. Yes, the math is just that stark, says the person who thinks 13 Twitter trolls and one Facebook ad brought down $1 billion campaign.
Right, $2 billion.
That's right. That's right. The math is just that stark, Richard, says the person who wants to shame people whose candidate received less than 1% of the vote. That's who's responsible, right? The math is just that stark, says the person who blames everything except the Electoral College. Hillary Clinton literally got 3 million more votes than Donald Trump. So wagging your finger at fucking Jill Stein voters, Jill Stein got less than 1% of the vote. It's the Electoral College. There's a million things that you should be angry at. People voting their conscience is the last thing you should be angry at.
And they're not just angry about it. They are actually filled with hatred towards those voters. A vile gut hatred that just those pot smoking, reggae listening, whatever their thing is, whatever their mental images are, just the worst of the worst. It's like, pot smoking, reggae listening people, whatever you think of them, they're really generally not that malicious. They don't really deserve all that hate, number one. Number two, maybe it's like if you don't like voters enough to want to go out and get their vote, then maybe politics is not the line of business for you.
Yes, exactly. So what we've said here is that Hillary Clinton was the first candidate in history who wasn't expected to garner votes through campaigning. She's just supposed to get those votes. You just owe them to her.
And now that's continued because now people just keep saying that I need this the continuance of this. Just vote Democrat. Just keep voting Democrat. Guess what? This is what I want. Come get my vote.
Come get my vote.
Come and get my vote already, Democrats.
Right.
Quit yelling. This is quit voter shaming and start politician shaming. Start wagging your finger at Hillary for being a part of administration, Barack Obama administration, that opened the Arctic to drilling twice, that took 2 wars to 7, that made the banks bigger and kicked 5.1 million families out of their homes so they can make the banks better, who let cops crack the heads of peaceful protesters at Occupy Wall Street, who didn't put on a soft shoe to help union workers. That's who you should be. There's a million people for you to be angry at. Voter shaming for environmentalists would be the last person that I would be. It's amazing. This is their strategy from 2016. It didn't work. This is the exact same strategy. Hey, you have to vote for her because Trump. You have to vote for someone because someone else is a bigger nightmare. That failed in 2016, but you know what the Democrats say? It's never too early to restart a failed message. That's what the Democrats, vote for us, you horrible person. That's what their message is.
And it's been their message for a very, very long time. But you know why it failed in 2016?
Why?
Because the math is just that stark.
The math is just that.
It's just that stark.
Hey, vote for us. Don't be an idiot, you Russian dummy. That's their selling pitch.
Right. Well, the classic moment to me was when Clara Jeffrey, who was the publisher of Mother Jones, tweeted, and I'm sure you've talked about this on the show, I've never hated millennials more. Do you know about that tweet?
Yes.
I've never hated millennials more. Well, that'll bring them running to your candidate. Yeah. Okay. I vote for people who hate me too. Yeah, that's what I want. Politicians who hate me.
You know what? I'm waiting for them to say, don't be a deplorable, vote Democrat. That's really going to bring the people running to your party.
Here's the Democrats' reach out, right? So, you're a misogynist, you're a disobedient basement dweller, you're a Russian troll, you're a socialist, you're a Trump supporter, you're a purist, you're a privileged white man, you're a Bernie bro. Now vote for us.
Right. That's great.
Now vote for us.
That image is great.
That's fine. I can't read the guy's name. Jay Brands. I can't read it.
Well, the Jay has done a good job there.
Yes, he has done a great job. And, this idea that you have to vote Democrats because of the Republicans. Here's the 16 Democrats who voted to roll back roll back the banking regulations. Just now, they got in bed with Trump to do this against the will of the people. Go ahead, Richard.
This is what I was just writing about. These guys, that bill that permits or that takes the brakes off because they never stopped doing it, banks to discriminate against people of color, and they also discriminate in mortgage lending against women too. That bill that gives the green light to that bill that had a special favor put in for Citigroup and the other biggest of the big banks, even though they say it's for
community banks, but it's not.
That bill that, and by the way, Citigroup, which is the Democratic, which staffed
Barack Obama's administration
and was created by the Bill Clinton administration.
He created Citigroup because he got rid of the regulations that said you couldn't.
And then, that said you couldn't merge Travelers and Citibank.
Travelers Insurance and Citibank.
And then, of course, his own Treasury Secretary, Robert Rubin, went on to become the CEO of Citigroup and should have gone to jail, but didn't because Obama was presiding over the investigation. Right. So there you have, Maggie Hassan and Jean Shaheen and Heidi Heitkamp and Mark Warner, Tim Kaine, Hillary's, as you've mentioned, running mate, Claire McCaskill, John Tester, Doug Jones, So, look, we could go on and on, but the point is these 16 Democrats, obviously some other Democrats didn't. Elizabeth Warren has been going after these guys, Sherrod Brown. But the fact is that Republicans couldn't have done it without these guys.
That's right. Well, also people...
I'm sorry to cut you off, Jimmy, but I'm getting upset
Go ahead.
now. Every single one of these guys should face a strong primary challenge.
And you know what? I say, get out of my Democratic Party.
Yes.
You are not representing my needs, and you certainly aren't representing people of color or the struggling class. You're making it harder for us to succeed. And, Richard, you're so right about, these women that are supposed to be proponents in support of women issues.
Time's up, all
and
that.
What are you doing?
Screwing them over.
You're not only screwing them over, you're going to screw their children over.
Yes.
Right.
So, but that's like you got to vote for that. You can't not support it. You have to.
So these really aren't Democrats. These are corporate tools.
So what this guy says here is that you have to vote for them no matter what, or else you're a GOP Russian alt-right. You're part of that. If you don't vote for these people who are screwing you over as hard as it. By the way, this is the point that a lot of people miss. The Democratic leadership let this happen. People go, no, Chuck Schumer voted against it. Chuck Schumer could have killed this on the motion to proceed. They need 60 votes on a motion to proceed. Chuck Schumer could have killed it. He didn't do it. He allowed this to happen. This is Chuck Schumer secretly wanting this bill to pass. That's what this is. So this is the Democratic leadership pretending to resist Trump, which is why we got Trump in the first place, because they don't resist. They have no plan. They don't want to break up the banks. They don't want to put regulations on the banks. I'm talking about the Democratic leadership. They don't want to do it. They don't want to make the war smaller. They don't want to make the banks smaller. They don't want to give you Medicare for all. That's why you got to stop voting for them. And if you pledge your vote to the Democratic Party before the election, that's why you get this, you dummies. That's why this happens. Pledging your vote to people who don't represent you is the dumbest thing you could do before. Oh no, we're going to hold their feet to the fire after the election. You can't get them to cotton to your ideas before the election. Have you ever heard anything dumber than that?
You know how the Tea Party took over the Republican Party?
By stopping voting for those mother effers.
Absolutely. They just said, well, okay, do it. Sure, nominate the guy we don't like, but we're not going to vote for you.
Yeah.
I'm all for that. I'm all for primarying every single one of these people. Every single one of them. I'm for Paula Swearingen in West Virginia primarying Joe Manchin. I would primary. And they tell you not to primary. They get so offended when somebody primaries a sitting Democratic senator. It's like, no, we don't have a House of Lords in this country.
That's right. You're not entitled to the seat.
Yeah, if you don't represent me, I'm going to run somebody against you.
So now they would say, you got to vote for Claire McCaskill because she's in a red state. What's the point of having a Democrat in a red state if they vote Republican?
Well, and
there's no point.
Also, that's based on the false logic that says that the only way to win in a red state is by pretending to be a Republican. Try being
a liberal lefty progressive.
Somebody who says, I mean, look, Missouri, that state used to go Democratic. Montana, you can win in the West with you just have to run a very different kind of candidate, somebody who's really going to, every state in the union, most people are working people.
People
every
like
single
Bernie.
State
Yes, people like Bernie Sanders' message. Somebody with Bernie Sanders' message. I would like to give that a litmus test. Hey, I'm not going to be bought by corporations. I'm going to take your worries of healthcare away from you, and I'm going to provide your kids with free college. That's a winning message, no matter where you go. The majority of the country's for Medicare for all right now. The only people who are against it seem to be still the Democrats.
My head is snapping back when I keep reading all the numbers that these people have received from financial sector. I mean, look at how much Michael Bennett has received.
Oh, that's low. These are very low. I went through the numbers for a piece I'm writing now. They're about right. Yeah, Michael Bennett. To be honest, I can't see them from here. 1,908,000 for Bennett. Yeah, that sounds about right. But you also have to throw in there's security and investment. There's also commercial banking. There's also lobbyists. There's also lawyers and law firms, some of which is also influence peddling on behalf of Wall Street. It's these 16 people together got 24 million from Wall Street, got 42 million from law firms, got 4 million from lobbyists, and 10 million from groups promoting women's issues. And so they're going to make sure to pass a bill that discriminates against women.
But we need to be worried about Russia's influence in our government. That's what MSNBC would tell you, the Washington Post, the New York Times, and most of your lefty news organizations today would tell you, don't worry about that. Let's worry about Russia. Then they'll give lip service, say, oh no, this is important too, but we're going to talk about Russia and Trump 99% of the time.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and suspect that you've discussed Adam Schiff on this show.
Yes, we have discussed Adam Schiff.
Okay. You can be as Wall Street a Democrat as you want. Just make sure your Twitter feed is all Russia all the time.
Yes.
And you're a hero of the resistance.
That's what we call Mick resistance. That's not real resistance. That's why we got Trump. If you want to know,
have you talked about the Fearless Girl statue on this show?
No.
The Fearless Girl statue, which everybody was celebrating. You have the Wall Street Bull,
right? And
then somebody put up the Fearless Girl standing up against the Wall Street Bull. And everybody's saying this girl was a symbol of the resistance. It was a Wall Street bank that put up the Fearless Girl statue. That is, to me, the perfect metaphor for what Democrats like these are doing, which is to say, to put up a symbolic opponent to a symbolic oppressor, but it's all funded by the same people. That's the metaphor. That's the living metaphor.
Okay, we're going to end it there. That was an awesome way to end that segment. Wow, it's a symbolic resistance to a symbolic oppressor. The oppressor isn't Trump. The oppressor is the system that gave us Trump. Would that be? Am I misinterpreting your metaphor?
Yeah. No,
that would be it. So
wrong.
The problem is he's a temporary lever in a system of gears. Right. Trump is. He's not the Trump didn't take us to Afghanistan for 17 years. Trump didn't start the Iraq War. He didn't do Libya. He didn't take the banks and make them bigger. He didn't. Right. So this is
and now these Democrats who are now nostalgic for George W. Bush. Stick around. In 10, 15 years, they'll be nostalgic for Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There'll be someone worse than Donald Trump. Yeah. Okay. The way you stick it back to these people is you don't let them silence the voice of progressive news shows. And the way you do that is become a patron. Come see our live show March 26th in Austin, Texas. We added a second show. March 30th here in Burbank, California. Come see that. We're going to be in San Francisco coming up, and we're going to be in Chicago. Check JimmyDoreComedy.com. Please make sure you're subscribed. That's very important to make sure you're subscribed. And if you think you are, just check. And if you're not, subscribe and then click that bell so you get a notice when we drop videos. That's how we fight back against the bastards. Thanks for your support.